I'm super excited to have this gentleman here. I don't think you guys realize how blessed you are actually to have this guy. He is the operations supervisor for OHFA, the Oklahoma Housing Finance Authority. And I mean, you already know that there's 1,000 applications for every voucher. He has been, his tenure there has probably seen 300,000 inspections just while he's there. He told me they do 100 a day, essentially. Just while he's been supervisor, probably 150,000. This man's time is extremely occupied, and the fact that he took time out of his day today to come speak to you all about Section 8, about OHFA, and be able to answer some questions for you is remarkable. And I'm very excited that he's going to be able to do this for you. I would like to introduce Quentin Germany.
How's everybody doing today? My name is Quentin Germany. I've been with Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency for almost 10 years now. I started off as a specialist working the packets at the clients from the application side all the way to the inspection side. A couple of years after that, I went out to the field and got to see your lovely homes that you're renting out to our clients. I was able to see that, experience that, and it now became the field operations supervisor. So just to let you know, this is not a OFA event. I'm here on my own accord because I really do care about the clientele that we serve. Now the deal is, we're a client-based program. The thing about being a client-based program, it seems like we're for the tenants. But we cannot do what we do without the landlords. We cannot do anything that we do without the investors, the ownerships, things like that. Without any housing to support our clients, the system will fail. Now, the issue with that, the system will fail, but that will also show up in our community as well. What we all want, we have the same goal. You guys might have little more ticks that you like, cash flow that's good, that you all like. You like the simplicity. And so sometimes our agency is not always simple for you. We have to follow regulations. Now the thing is, we follow a lot of red tape. This is a government. This is something about our program, I will say. It was created in 1974. This is from the program that it was established from. Now the program helps over 2 million people, families per year. OFA, I'll be honest with you, probably about $6 million that we pay out per month for each landlord. Right now, we started off with 11,000 vouchers, but with the turnaround with the housing industry, keeping up with the cost, we're probably right now 9,700 tenants that we're serving now. So with the price of rent going up, it also brings down the many people that we can serve, which that's just the nature of the beast. And that's fine, and that's not a complaint. It's hard to do it, but I do believe in the work that I do. I come out and I try to work every day. Today we was closed. The office did close because we was champions 2025 for the So the agency allowed us to go down there with the governor, or well, with the mayor, to celebrate and have time. But we're still in business. The office was closed to the public, but we still had employees that showed up today to still work. It's the nature of the beast. It's always going to be something. Every call that I get, it probably takes about 30 minutes at least. Sometimes it's something that is so simple for someone just what to listen to. Our program deals with a lot of people that are disabled, a lot of elderly clients. So they take a lot of special care. So with that being said, we do have some stragglers that might seem to be some bad apples, but that is not the entire program that we produce. That is not what we do, what we serve to do. So, after 1974, 1 year later, OKCREIA was established. We had it out, we was gonna go out for 77 counties. We was under Governor Boren, is one that established that, but even though in 1975, we did not still open our doors until 1976. Now, with 1976, we opened our doors and we only had about 12 inspectors or 12 agents. Those 12 agents are what we have produced today for 60 people that work for our rental department. So I'm specifically here from Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency, but I work specifically for the rental assistant. I supersede the inspectors and the schedulers. So every inspector, if you have an introduction to them, that is under my team. The schedulers, the turnaround time that we deal with, we have been gearing up to get that fast. 14 days, 21 days is what it was. Right now, we're probably sitting at between 12 and 14 days. Some landlords get 7. My end goal is 3 days for Oklahoma County. Since we serve all 77 counties, it is hard for only 12 inspectors, which I have on staff, for us to go out in a timely manner. Now, we do have some bills that's going across from Congress or that's from governor that's sitting in Oklahoma that other jurisdictions or other agencies will be able to do that as well. It is a hard struggle to keep up into every county. But there's no excuse because we will continue to follow our mission to be able to serve Oklahoma with an eagerness to serve and be the premier agency in the nation. So we are only here in Oklahoma. Our jurisdiction is here in Oklahoma, but we would like every one of you guys that invest just in Oklahoma or any other state to know or to brag about what we do and what we bring to the table. We would like to be able to be mirrored for other agencies and set an example. And so the title of this presentation today was Building Better Together. Something that I thought about when Mr. Dakota reached out to me and asked if I would be willing to speak. We need landlords. But the only reason why we have to build better together now is because we lost trust with the people or the population that we serve. And so in order for us to build that trust back, we have to come out and meet landlords. We have to hear you. We hear everything, every complaint. I hear every complaint. I brainstorm trying to figure out how we can minimize, simplify the issue or the contact that you have without breaking any regulations. So I put a couple of things on the board. The importance of collaboration. You know, the role that you play in stability of our housing, of the community. You play a major factor in this. When you partner with our agency, when you partner with any housing agency, you bring a partnership that actually goes clear across the community. It's a very big community impact. You have to trust the process that we build together. We trust the process for the maps. We got a new stadium. We're going to get new things that's going on. This is also a part of that community. We have to build up the community. Your job, provide what you've already been doing. Our job is to educate our clients. That is the biggest factor, educating the clients as well as communication. That's where we lost your trust. Is communication. So, these are your concerns. I listen to concerns, I get complaint calls, I get complaint emails, I talk to landlords, I hear my inspectors and what they say. The inspections was major. 2 years ago, inspections was horrible. Not because I was not the supervisor, it was just hard to maintain. We have the clear and focus of plan how we can maintain that. What we was doing was looking at the bigger picture without trying to simplify it and look at what we can control. What we can control is OFA is set foot in Oklahoma City. We have 12 inspectors, which I have about 7 inspectors that reside in Oklahoma City. So why am I trying to make the turnaround time for woodwork faster instead of focusing on Oklahoma City? Woodwork could be understandable. They can understand why we can't get out there because it takes us 3 to 4 hours to drive there. So what we're doing now is focusing by knocking these inspection times out. And like I said, our goals is going to be 3 days, within 3 days. What I want you guys to do is to get upset at us for calling you and saying, hey, we got an appointment ready. Do you want to get this open and spot? And you say, well, no, I just had the inspection yesterday. I don't have time to do that. We want to bug you instead of you having to submit a schedule request for us and then you have to wait for an inspection 21 days later. So that is our focus and that is our goal and that is our mission starting this year and starting at this point. Tenant management, like I said, we deal with elderly. We deal with veteran. We have a veteran program. We deal with disability. That is our main focal point. That's what we deal with. We deal with single moms. We deal with single parents, single fathers. That's what we deal with. We're dealing with our community here in Oklahoma, and we're trying to help you become more successful with renting properties to our clientele. The only way, I'm going to keep spilling this out, the only way that can happen is communication. Communication, yes, the clientele are adults, but it's also a triangle of a program. The landlords sign a HAP contract with us. The tenants sign a lease with you. The tenants receive assistance from us. So the only way that works is communication is flowing for all 3 corners of the triangle. Without that, it will fail. Without proper communication, you will have a tenant that will move out without letting us know. With that being said, we are gearing up for new things too as well. So, areas improvement. Everyone has a housing assistance payment contract on their table. What that is saying, that's telling you the guidelines of what we do the contract over. Now, in the contract, it does say we have 60 days to give you a payment, the initial payment. After that, if we're not giving you proper payment, you can charge us just like a tenant can. You can charge us a late fee, just like that. We have to pay you. That initial contract, we have to pay you. Now, it does say 60 days, and our finance team is excellent. Once we get a contract in, if you're there, we sign a lease, we sign a contract. Once we get that in, most of the time, you're going to get it within the following month. Now, there's some things that you don't see that goes behind the scenes, is that in order for us to serve all 9,000 or 10,000 landlords, but it's most likely, in order for us to serve you, to get you your check, we have to start our checking process before the first of the month. So I will say this, if you remember this, if you sign a contract on the 25th of the month, it is most likely you will not receive it. So if you sign the contract on June 25th, you will most likely not receive payment until August 1st. So one thing that we used to do, we used to pay landlords in the middle of the month, every middle of the month. But as everybody knows, the budget cuts, everybody knows the payments, everybody knows that we've seen the housing shortage, everybody has seen that we have tried to figure out how we can successfully continue to do the work that we do without showing you any of that ill fit or any negative from that. If you think back, if you did utilize us during COVID, we continued to pay during COVID. I remember during COVID, I was not a supervisor at the time. I was just a general inspector. I went out on leave because I was just having a baby. Came back during COVID. And so we were doing everything remotely. I could not stand remote inspections. I felt inadequate because I was asking a landlord or a maintenance person to do my job on the camera. Hey, turn around. Can you show me that? Can you lift the window up? Can you do that? I felt that was not good and not convenient for you either. Because yes, it's your property, but if you're going to be there, why can't I be there? So right then I asked my supervisor if I could go out. So it was a couple of us inspectors that was going out in person during COVID to make sure that we get these inspections done. HUD gave us a lot of waivers. We was able to do a non-life-threatening contract. It was a mess. I'll be honest with you, we was paying on contracts, continue paying on contracts without the inspections. Inspections are needed. Not every landlord is going to be great. Some landlords do hide, but it's our job to make sure the tenants have safe and decent and sanitary housing. You guys, everyone in here is going to be taxpayers. You don't want us to spend taxpayers' money on a unit or rent that's missing a ceiling. I've done an inspection that the whole ceiling was missing for 8 months. So when it rained, it came right in the living room. And it wasn't just a small hole, the whole ceiling was missing. They had a sunroof in their living room. When I asked the tenant, I said, did you let your landlord know? Her answer was no. So the problem with that is lack of communication from the tenant, because when the hole was that big or any type of leak, she should have notified the landlord. Also the issue is when we got there, yes, it was 8 months later, we let her know. We sent the letter out to the landlord was upset, yeah, the landlord kicked her out, but the landlord didn't have any extra damage outside of the living room. So the program is a struggle at times, but you also have tenants that are on the program or could be on the program that lives in a unit for 20 plus years. That is where the stable payment goes. That is where you have a tenant that keeps everything clean. You don't have to worry about them. We pay you on time, and they take care of your property, and you have a peace of mind. So when we spoke with that tenant, we didn't side with the tenant on that. We asked the tenant what was going on. It was a tenant damage. Tenant created the hole because tenant was on the roof. And they were sitting on the roof smoking. So the conversation that we have with our clients is also for you, because that's what's put in our report. That's how we determine if it is going to be a tenant or an owner responsibility. Owner is going to be anything that's going to be part of the structure. Tenant is going to be anything that is outside of minor wear and tear. So if they put a hole in the wall, that's going to be the tenant. If it's the structural damage, toilet breaks down, we're going to put that on the owner. But we can also change it to the tenant if the tenant is the one that damaged. Now, all of our inspectors, including myself, we're certified. But we're certified with housing quality standards, and we're certified with Inspire, which is a new platform that we're going to be starting. So these are areas of improvement that we have to do. We recognize these. I recognize these. My director recognized these, and the rest of our leadership team recognized. And even though I put communication at the bottom, communication is the biggest point for me. And sometimes you guys want simplicity. Sometimes I might give you more information that you might want to know. But that's how we have to communicate. We're implementing a HUD program. We're just implementing it. That's all. Meaning that we have to follow the rules just like you have to follow the rules. When you rent into a unit, when you got to get an occupancy, when you're doing that, you have to follow regulations. You have to have your plumbing pipes, your codes, everything. That's all we're following. And Inspire is going to be different, but housing quality standard is just a floor level inspection. So I don't want to diminish what we do, but we're probably just a $200 inspector on there. We just go in the unit, we take our pictures, and we leave, which I love, because I don't have to get what your landlord or what your maintenance staff has to go through is get on the floor under the pipes and do all of that. I don't have to put a suit on. So, a little bit what I wanted to speak, growing together, is we've already established a relationship. If you have dealt with us before in the past, or if you just heard someone speak about us in the past, most of the time I hear negative, which is fine. But if you put it in perspective, you're going to have a negative input regardless if you put us in the picture. You have a lot of tenants that you want to get rid of that's not on our program. So that's just a people thing. That's not a program thing. So I don't really like saying this, but this is what HUD says, this is what leadership says, it's guaranteed rent. But I want to say it's a catch. I say it's guaranteed, but you have to pass the inspection, right? It's guaranteed, which a lot of landlords don't realize, but this is one thing, this is regulatory, which is unfortunately if a client dies in the unit or dies wherever, we can't pay the next month. So even if they died on the 30th, we can't pay July 1st. And I know that's a bummer, but that's regulatory that we have to follow. So communication is key to let you know that up front. Abatement. That's another thing that happens during the inspections that stops your guaranteed payment. So my supervisor's name is Kenneth Love. He's been with the housing industry for about 30 years. Everybody on our leadership program has the ability to grant extensions for your inspection to stop it from going into abatement. But you can't call me 3 months after your unit went to abatement and expect me to give you an extension. I have to get it immediate. As soon as you find out and you have a struggle with it, you should call and inquire with both of us, and we can grant good landlords on good calls. That is in our administrative plan that we have the ability to do that. So, reduce vacancy risk. Everybody is unsure where they want to be right now. Summertime is probably the best one where renters want to move and think they want to go somewhere else because they think it's something better because the landlord's not fixing something simple. But we do reduce vacancy risk. But we do have negligent tenants just as well as you. And I just want to stress that. We have some really great tenants. Tenants that stay in units, tenants that do not go anywhere and take care of units, but we also have some that will trash. But so that's why we have a shared partner, because we have the same common goal and we deal with a lot of the similar issues. Community impact. We all see that. As we look out of this room, when I'm looking at this housing stock that is just across the street, it looks nice. That is community impact. Hopefully some of those are your units too, but that is what we want to see. We don't want to go out to a unit and see trash everywhere. We don't want to go in the community. You guys, when you go on vacation, you don't want to go to a trash community. You don't want to go to an event or go to someone's house and the neighbor is just throwing everywhere. So you rent to our community as private landlords. And that's one thing that the voucher program was created for. We still have public housing, but they moved away with it from the HCV program because they wanted to give clients options. That's why it's called housing choice. But you also have a choice to rent and not rent. So, these are some things that we're working on because we hear you, because we want to do more communication. We have landlord meetings that are coming up in August and September. We have 2 in September, 1 in August. 1 in September will be here in Oklahoma. Now, these are tentative dates, that's why I didn't put them on, but they are going to be in September 2025. I will say that is going to be a good way for you if you are in the program or if you're on the fence with accepting the tenants, because you will get a more introduction into our new inspection protocol. Assistance Connect, if you are on our program, is just a portal. So as investors or as owners, what you can do, you don't have to do the work. You can set up your own account. You can set your workers with their own account, so you're still in control of that account, but they have additional accounts as well. So now you're getting real-time notification next day after the inspection. Currently, right now, if you're not on the portal, you receive your inspections by mail. And unfortunately, you can stay in the same zip code and still receive it 5 to 7 days. Sometimes you might receive it 3. Sometimes you might receive it 14. It just depends. But that's something out of our control. CallMax is a project that I'm working on myself. This is going to be something that we're trying to get integrated into our software to where we can notify you. Inspection times, when we're coming out, what's going on, office closures. I'm gearing to have my first introduction for callbacks the beginning of July, the first week of July. And it's just going to let you know this is not a scam. This is us really reaching out to you, letting you know that you will receive notifications. One thing that I'm holding this off on is because the reason why we wanted to go with this company is for what they stated, is that we can notify you of our inspections. And so until they prove that, that's why we haven't sent it out just yet. So, like I said, we do about 100 inspections per day. Also, we do probably about 400 recertifications of income per month. I have the luxury of doing quality control inspections. And all that is me coming out there and an agent after they pass the unit and making sure that they're following the standards. I only do about 100 of those a year. So I kind of have my free time is no free time, is just emails and reviewing systems. This is going to be a good way is OVA.org. We put everything on there. We even have a section called the newsroom. That was going to give you more updated information. It's going to be the same as CallMax. CallMax is going to be a little bit different because that's going to be specifically from our rental team. OVA.org and the newsroom is going to give you from every department. As you guys are investors, even if you do not choose to go with the rental program, we do have housing development program as well. I will suggest that you go look on the website, learn a little bit about that. We have some good landlords that are developers here that utilize that program. And that basically costs and gives you tax credit units. It also gives you a reduced price and sometimes helps you from new builds and old builds. So just wanted to give you a quick part because these are source subjects that I believe if I was a landlord, this is what you need to know. The abatement process, non-compliance, that can come from 2 different ways. Life-threatening issue. On everybody's table, I have printed out life-threatening issues that we follow from HUD. That is from their non-life-threatening Modification Act. That is going to be on there of every life-threatening issue that we follow, that we think is life-threatening. So, failure to respond to a letter or notification that we notified you that it was a life-threatening issue in the unit. So technically it's supposed to be 24 hours, we send out the letter, but you get multiple times of communication from us. When the inspector comes out and cites a life-threatening, they should call you and let you know that you have one in your unit. Then that inspection goes to the office. Then you should get your notification in the mail from the actual specialist that is sending it out to you. Now, like I said, 24 hours, but we have to give you mail time and notification, which is 3 to 4 days. And so if you fail to communicate that it's been rectified, that means it can go into abatement. And what abatement means is we will stop payment. We will not pay you for the following month, and it says it on the inspection letter what month is going to start. With that being said, it's really not that bad. The abatement period on non-compliance is after at least 2 inspections, if it's not life-threatening. We come out, we do an inspection, we send you a letter, repairs to fix. If you dispute them, you have to communicate before the issue goes into abatement. We come out, do a re-inspection. If it's not a new unit inspection, we're coming out within 30 days. If it's a new unit, that's when we're trying to do a turnaround time between 3 to 10 days. Right now, we're focusing on 10 days. So the goal is 10, 7, then 3. The abatement period can only be 90 days. So this is important for the landlords because this is what can cause you not to have stability in your unit. The abatement is 90 days. Even if we come out and inspect it on day 59, you will not receive that money back. That is something you have to know. Now, if the tenant has a portion, they have to pay you the whole time during the abatement. If they don't, that's where it hurts. Rent increases. Rent increases is a big thing for landlords. I will give everyone a pointer when it comes to rent increases. Please, if you do not have it in your lease and you're dealing with us, you need to put it in your lease. On the housing contract, it says that you cannot have a rental increase for the initial term of the lease. That is one thing that we would not approve of. So, if you're going to send a rent increase to us, we have a rent increase form. It is located on our website. We need that form no less than 60 days prior to you wanting the increase. No more than 120 days. The reason why I say 60 is regulatory, but the reason why it's regulatory, it gives us time to process it as well as notify the tenant. We are required to notify the tenant any increase 30 days in advance. Scheduling requests are kind of similar to the rent increase, but you have to have a voucher holder that has a schedule request. Now, the schedule request is an OFA form. We created that form. It gives us more information about your unit to do rent comparables. Right now, we're using affordablehousing.com. That's where we tell our clients to look. It is a site that you can put your units for free. Now, they do have paid offers for owners. And I'm in communication with them about that service. But we basically have free advertisement. Every client that comes to the door, we can't be biased, so we have to send them to that site. We send them to Google, we send them to Facebook, we send them to the newspaper, wherever we can go, but we use affordable housing for our rental comparables. Rent increases and scheduling requests must be filled out correctly and fully for us to be able to process. That is what can slow down your housing lease and your inspection if it's not filled out. The housing contract, as I told you earlier, is on everybody's table as well. I will keep that. You can get a digital copy as well. I will give out my card if you need anything digital. I will email it to you as well, but it is also on HUD's website as well. So, now to my expertise is the inspection side. This is what I care about. This is what I like. I'm really excited for HQS to move from HQS, which is Housing Quality Standards, to our INSPIRE. So, national standard. So, what I like about it is because the complaint that a lot of landlords or owners have is that our inspection process is not clear. Our inspection process is about feeling or subjectivity, or if an agent doesn't like you, or if you have a bad feeling, or we're nitpicking. When it comes to Inspire, it's standard, straightforward. Every standard. It's 62 standards, ranging from each standard going from 1 to 10 deficiencies. Now, we did introduce some new categories with Inspire, which is going to be life-threatening, which you know. Severe is new, moderate is new, and low is going to be new. But it's still the same system. Low is a pass with comment, which when I came to OFA, we didn't do. But that is a standard that we should do, is pass with comment. A hole in the wall that's the size of this mic, that's not a fail, that's a pass with comment. Now, if you're allowing weather to come through and the structure is falling, then that's where we can upgrade the status to a fail. But a single hole in the wall should just be a pass. Certain things that we should look that you probably think is nitpicking, that should probably be a pass with comment. That's why communication is key. If you communicate with us, if someone makes an error, if you think it's an error, we will review it. That is what our team is for. Our team consists of 2 supervisors, 2 schedulers, 12 agents. So with Inspire, I will say this too, I do like the standard, but it does have some growing pain. The growing pain for Inspire that's going to be upgraded is going to be mode, but I do like it because it goes to square footage and size of what it's going to be. So with that, it's going to be severe, moderate to life-threatening for the mode, depending on the square footage. Going from 4 inches all the way up to 9 square feet for the life-threatening. 9 square feet or more for life-threatening. Another thing is going to be the railing system. That's going to be something that is huge. The railing system can't be lower than 30 inches. Anything that's going to be a cliff off the wall to the master floor is going to need a proper railing. That's going to be something new. So people have retaining walls. If you're familiar with Isabella or Allure, if you go out there on west of their property, they have a lot of cliffs off that they're going to have to be required if they're on our program to have those railings during the Inspire. A major also issue is going to be potholes. 4 inches, you're going to have to fill those out if you have a multi-family unit, causing those to be tripping hazards. But outside of that, I guess the major one is going to be exterior paint. So our criteria with exterior is going to be with exterior paint is right now 1978. With a kid that is going to be of the age of 6 or below. That is the criteria now. Now, with Inspire, that's not going to be it. It's whatever house that has that problem, regardless if you have a kid in that house, we're going to ask you to rectify it and abate. But I am looking forward to Inspire because I think that will be the springboard to helping us bond our relationship with our inspection process.
When does that start, Brandon?
That is going to start October 1st of 2025.
For real?
For
That
so we did push. HUD gave us a chance to push it back, but I will say this: I am in charge of going through all those protocols and putting it in our system. So it is going to be October 1st if I have to put that work in. Regardless of how I push it back. Other housing authorities are already utilizing it. Other programs that we partnership are already utilize it. So it will make it satisfactory if we can all do that and have the same inspection protocol. And that's one thing that Congress got together is because we were still inspecting on HQS, some was inspecting from REACT, and they just basically wanted to combine. And so Inspire is still, the standard was the 70s, hasn't been upgraded, certain, but it's still relative today. And Inspire is just an upgrade from HQS with a little bit of React in it if you deal with a lot of tax credit and multifamily units. Another thing that is a big deal that we did in December 29th of 2024 was requiring smoke detectors. So if you have new builds, things like that, it's not an issue for you. But the requirement for HUD was it needed to be a tamper resistant and sealed 10-year smoke detector. So right now, the requirement is you just have to have one. But effective October 1 of this year, it's going to be required to be in the bedrooms. So that's one thing that's going to happen in October, but hopefully, not hopefully, you will get a text message or an email from CallMax telling you when it's about to go on. So I can talk about my program just because I love the program. I bought into the program at an early age. Like I said, I've been working here for 10 years. I know people, grew up with people that was on the program. I was raised by a single mother that had low income. So I really believe in the work that we do. I really believe in the word community. And so I will always want to improve what we're doing and improve our relationships. So I really didn't want to talk the whole time. I really wanted to have this as more of a discussion, more of comments, more of questions. A lot of landlords I don't know. I'm not supposed to know every landlord, but a lot of them I don't know. A lot of them do not know me, do not know what I represent, but had a bad experience in the past. I'm not promising you the world here. I'm not promising you everything. All I'm offering you is an opportunity to grow your business and have a little bit more stability by also helping out the community. Because if we don't have a program, everybody is going to be free market, open market. So it's better to deal with us and that we can build this program to show that everyone that this program is real and that it is affordable and that it is helping out our community so we can continue to grow and continue to serve Oklahomans. So I will pass the mic, or if anybody has any questions or anybody has comments, Mr. Dakota.
We had heard that OFA had put a pause maybe 3 or 4 months ago on issuing new vouchers. And one question that we had is like, does that mean that every new tenant is going to be held to that? So you don't get your 8 items and then you can still pass. If you fail even one item, you fail the unit, or how is that working?
Okay. So again, HUD does a lot of things that doesn't get implemented. The NLT process came from the HOPMA, which was in 2016. We just implemented this process during COVID. That's why we had to take on the life-threatening issues, adopt all of HUD's life-threatening issues. And we are constantly working on how to improve. So right now we have a non-life-threatening where if you're a new person coming on, admitted to our program, if you have less than 8 items in your inspection, we'll sign a contract. Now the unit still fails, but we'll sign a contract and move forward. So the regulation doesn't say that it has to be for new admissions or existing. So we're constantly communicating with leadership if we can move it over. And that will also help the turnaround time as well. Because if I don't have to get out there and if I sign a contract today, it means I don't have to come back into 30 days. But if we fail you today, then I'm hustling and my team is hustling to try to get us back out there within 10 days. So the more contracts that we sign, even if they fail, are beneficial for you guys and for us. It's time. So we are in communications. Hopefully I'm bored. I want to move for that process because that will help out. It's not fair to landlords to have to do one thing on one side of the program and another thing on the other side. And so We are in real conversations with that. The items are 8 now, so we might move it up. My recommendation to my supervisor was to go up to 10 or 12. Because a lot of people that are on our program fail for 8 or 9 and they don't get a contract. So we are in communication with that, and I will bring this up. Every question that you have for me tonight, or every question that comes up later, I do bring this up to my director. So we are moving forward that. Yes, sir.
So quick question on ownership transfer, and just as an example, so I've never dealt with Section 8, but I've got 2 off-market duplexes that I'm selling right now. One unit in each of the duplexes is currently rented with Section 8. And so I guess my question is, when those properties get sold, how does Section 8 affect the transfer? Will those 2 units have to be re-inspected, and would it be possible for the other 2 units to become Section 8?
Easy question. So, unfortunately, how it should work is before the property is sold, the landlord that is renting to our tenants should be notifying us. That doesn't happen 95%. Sometimes we get a landlord, they communicate with us that they bought it, and we don't have any paperwork about what is going on. And so that puts us in a hustle and bustle state trying to figure out so you can get paid. Because you already starting from behind the goalpost that you didn't even know existed. So the easy part with that is we have a great finance team. We have some young ladies that are there that once they figure it out, they'll send you documentation. And it really depends on when you get it back to us. So we send it back so we can get all that information. Once you send it back to us, that's when we can make it a change. We have to lock in a change to send to HUD so we can get you better payments or get you your payments. Now, the other clients that are not in Section 8 or that you want, it's an easy process for a landlord to get into Section 8. There's no requirement. We don't test you. All your unit has to do is pass HQS current. So if you have a voucher holder that comes to you with a voucher, I suggest that we do a background and we look back of a 1-year period. But I still suggest you do your background and do diligence because we do not look at rental history. We look at criminal background, drugs, things like that, and we look back at a period of 1 year. And so all we have to do is get that schedule request. Like, I'm on a team that all I need and all I ask for is a schedule request. So some landlords, they email a schedule request to our RA emails address, and they CC me. And so all I'm doing is asking the team that processes to hurry up because you're affecting my time now. Because with you guys, how it works, when landlords get an application, your time ticks. But our time doesn't tick until we get the schedule request. But we're on your time. So you might have an application, it might get approved through compliance or however you do it, and it might be 7 days out, but you're already 7 days in the long term. Or how many times?
So if, like, let's say Jason buys these duplexes, is there anything that has to happen before he can start accepting the payment?
If it's already in place.
The current landlord is going to have to fill out some paperwork. I'm going to have to fill out saying that it changes over on this date and payments keep going. If it doesn't get done on time, there's no reinspection for an ownership change.
Okay.
It's an easy process.
It's easy.
But if you don't do it quickly, the old landlord will get your money.
Yeah, they'll keep it. And we won't get it back for you.
And it's hard to get.
We won't go after the old
Make
landlord.
sure it's part of your contract when you purchase the property that rents transfer over.
Yes, sir.
So, we do a lot of Section 8, everybody knows that, but from your perspective, how do we best help hold our tenants accountable when they're doing things that we know you wouldn't like, tearing up units and things like that? How do we best communicate that, and how do we kind of hold people accountable? Because in our perspective anymore, we don't want people on the program that are going to tear up somebody else's house along with ours. So how do we work with you guys to diminish some of that?
So that goes back to our key point with communication. If a tenant is tearing your unit up, you need to enforce your lease by doing a lease violation. If you do a lease violation, you should be sending us a copy of that violation. And what we do, we send out a generic letter and say, hey, you better stop or you're going to get evicted. If a client gets evicted while they're getting assisted from a federal assistance unit, they're off the program. And they're off the program for 3 years. Now, I will say as the tenant advocate, we don't want that because that doesn't stop them from still going to somebody else's unit and tearing it up. But we also have to hold them accountable. With that, we come out and do an inspection. We mark it as tenant responsibility. They have to pay. You, the landlord, are still in control of your unit, meaning that you don't have to accept them to do your repairs. So they break a window, we put on the letter, tenant's responsibility. But I will say this, you're still the owner of that property, and I would not let them fix that window. I will fix it and do an invoice. The biggest misconception about tenant-based assistance or affordable housing is tenants do not have the money. They have the money. They might not have it all at once, but they do work. Some of them get Social Security. Some of them do, sporadic jobs. Our program, we look for that income, but they still have the money. And I wouldn't have any sympathy for anyone that is tearing up anybody's property. That's not the tenants that I want. But we have to educate the tenants and show them, not lead them by example, but show them that they can't do things like that. Because if you don't communicate with us, we don't know. We issue them a voucher, they move to somebody else's unit, they tear it up, and the cycle continues. And unfortunately, the cycle will continue through generations.
Thank you, Quinn. Couple of questions for you. Number one is I've had Section 8 vouchers come my way. It was a 1-bedroom voucher for a 3-bedroom house. I only found out when I asked how many bedrooms. Do you all look at that from your side to confirm that the voucher matches the house? And the second question, I'm going to get this out, is I've got property management, and the letters for the inspections, the letters from Section 8 go to them. Sometimes I'm made aware of them, sometimes I'm not. And things get looked overlooked. Is there some way for me to get on that list as well as my property manager? Can you all send your communication to 2 different places or only one?
Okay, so if we're sending it by mail, it's most likely going to be just to one location. But if we can get you signed up for the portal and they're getting it through the portal, what we need to do is we need to give you the account back and then have them create a sub-account. So now you're getting notified as well as them getting notified of what is happening. As far as the other question about the voucher size versus the unit size, no, we're not looking at that. Okay. We do look at it when it's we go with the lesser of. So if it's a 3-bedroom voucher and it's a 2-bedroom unit, our payment standard is going to match the 2-bedroom. And it works vice versa. A person can have a 1-bedroom voucher and they can lease a 5-bedroom unit if it's still affordable and it meets into their 40%. And so some tenants have it. Some tenants will overtalk themselves and let you know what's going on. A lot of single people household can have a reasonable accommodation to have an additional bedroom. So if you have we can't tell them to do that, but that is part. So when I do my briefings with the clients, I let them know that they can have a reasonable accommodation. And so what that is, a reasonable accommodation, is just basically going against the reason for the rule, meaning that they can have a live-in aid, or they can have an additional bedroom for medical. but they have to request it. We can't see them and be like, oh, I think you need accommodation. So if they put it down, we will look at that.
Every tenant will want, they have a 2-bed voucher, they want a 3-bed house. But Section 8 will only pay you for that 2-bed voucher, so you cap your own rent.
Right.
And it's probably $200 difference between a 2-bedroom voucher and a 3-bedroom voucher and what you actually take home. So if you have a crappy house, not a crappy house, an undesirable house, like a tiny bedroom house or something that's super small, and you have trouble renting on a 3-bed voucher, you might rent it on a 2 because somebody will be like, oh, I get an extra bedroom. So think about that, but a tenant will always ask for one up. So as a landlord with a really good house, 3-bed voucher, 3-bed house, I don't go up or down. Because if you go up and take a 4-bed, they're gonna move because that 3-bed house isn't big enough, and you want the long-term tenant, so keep them in a voucher size of 3 bedrooms.
And utilize the payment standard QR code that I put on the table. That's going to tell you the payment standards in each zip code. So the small market area, that's what we're doing. And some are bigger, some are higher, some are low. But you want to utilize that when you're looking at what we can rent. And I will say this, if the payment standard is $1,200, tenant doesn't have any income, the rent can be $1,200 if it's all bills paid. So we are an income-based program, meaning we're going off their income. So if they don't have any, we have to take that in consideration. So if you remember things like that. Also another, as Dakota said, a nugget. If you have a multi-family unit, or even if you have a single-family unit and the tenant is paying electric, but you're charging them a fee for water, sewer, and trash, and your fee is only $50, you shouldn't do that. And the reason why is because we use that as their affordability. Regardless if they're paying $5 or $2 for the utility service, we still calculate our full utility allowance in it. So if you have a $50 fee for utilities, for water, sewer, and trash, maybe you should say $50 fee for water and leave sewer and trash out of it.
That's a great tip.
So that also will help as the affordability for rent reasonable in your unit. A lot of people don't get that when it's multifamily, but if you're charging a fee of $5, but our water fee allowance is $35, doesn't match. So they can't have a higher amount of unit and we can't pay you more rent. So in order to be able to pay you more rent, you should probably think about adjusting those fees out. And
Do we have a
putting them
last
aside.
question?
Dakota.
Maybe 2, Dakota?
Hey, we've got time for this last question, but I'm just curious. Obviously, we know that the president has called for a budget in 2026 with a reduction of 40% in funding to housing programs like this and potential things like lifetime caps on the program. I know we don't know how or what will finally be passed in that budget, but what are the internal communications with OKCREIA saying about that in preparation?
So, transparency. I mean, some staff is concerned, which we all are concerned. But as I would say is, we're tracking that budget, and we're still going to be here, even if it gets approved. We'll have to be able to serve less families, because without that money, like I said, $6 million plus a month. So with that big slash, it's going to do it. But we're not going to be. I've had a conversation with our executive director about this, and it's going to be a major decision for her. But they're not going to be just kicking people off. There's going to be a serious thought process behind who we're going. Every month, we turn people from the program. So since we closed our waiting list, since we have not been pulling from our waiting list, we have not been adding tenants to our assistance. That's why our numbers dropped from 11,000 to 9,700, because we're not pulling. I will say this, currently, we are pulling from that waiting list. We have not opened our waiting list, but we are pulling new clientele from that waiting list. We have to get our numbers back because HUD will only give us a budget of what we have. So what we don't want them to do is give us what we have now. We need to go over. And so we have administrative fees that will help out. So I don't think it will be just unless he made the decision just to shut the program down. Right now, it is a bill, and the governor has control over. So if the governor wanted to do, he can change everything. He can come in and take our executive director out and put anybody else. He can place us under the umbrella of somebody else in the state. But one thing what we have to do is we have to continue our partnership, because no one can do it better than we can. And if you take it away from us and give it to someone else, you think the complaints are bad now, it's going to be worse. So we are a good agency, and throughout the years, we have done more with less. You know, we have other departments that are really good. Our development process, our tax credit, compliance office, single-family homes, which help also first-time home buyers. So the investors that like to flip homes, that is also a good place to start. Lenders, we do have good lenders too as well. Anybody that needs down payment assistance, you can refer it to us. So if you're selling a home to a tenant or just a regular person that's first-time home buyer, send us to our website. You don't have to be on our program to qualify for our down payment assistance program. But I will say that we're just constantly monitoring the results, and we're going to do what we have to do to survive.